For nearly 5 decades, the world has admired André Rieu as the king of the waltz, a musician who fills arenas with joy and emotion through his Johann Strauss orchestra. But behind the glittering lights and sold-out concerts, another story quietly shaped his success. That story belongs to Marjorie Rieu, his wife, partner, and the woman who carefully built a foundation for his global career while staying out of the spotlight. Marjorie has never sought fame or recognition. In fact, she avoids interviews and public appearances, preferring to let André stand in front of audiences while she works in the shadows. Yet, her influence has been enormous. From managing logistics to writing, from keeping finances stable to making difficult decisions during crises, Marjorie was the steady hand on the wheel. She was not just André's wife, she was his protector, his manager, his advisor, and sometimes, his only shield from the pressures of fame. As André celebrates his 75th birthday in 2025, audiences around the world cheer for him, but many remain unaware of how much of his story is also hers. Understanding the story of André Rieu without Marjorie is like hearing only half of a symphony, misses the harmony that keeps everything together for years. André seemed unstoppable. He performed in sold-out stadiums, recorded albums at a rapid pace, and traveled across continents without showing signs of exhaustion. Fans admired him for his cheerful spirit and tireless energy, as if nothing could ever slow him down. But in 2010, during what should have been a peaceful holiday with Marjorie in Belgium, everything changed. André woke up one night, feeling the world spin around him. The ceiling tilted, the walls moved, and he could not even stand without collapsing. He was drenched in sweat, disoriented, and terrified. At first, he thought it was simple fatigue, the result of overwork and long flights. But doctors soon diagnosed him with vestibular neuritis, a viral infection that attacks the nerve-controlling balance. The effects were devastating. He could not walk properly, rehearse with his orchestra, or even hold his violin without dizziness overwhelming him. For a man whose life was built on performing, this was a nightmare. Concerts had to be cancelled, including massive events in Australia and the UK, costing millions and affecting the livelihoods of more than 120 people in his orchestra and crew. Fans were heartbroken, but nobody felt the weight more than Marjorie, who had to step in and manage not just a business crisis, but also her husband's physical and emotional survival during those months of illness. It became clear just how important Marjorie was to André's world. She was more than a supportive spouse. She was the person who kept the entire operation alive. With André bedridden and emotionally fragile, Marjorie managed communications, dealt with financial pressures, and, most importantly, ensured that he rested, even when he stubbornly tried to return to work. She knew that this was not about willpower, but about survival. Doctors prescribed a long and difficult recovery process involving physical therapy, balance exercises, and complete lifestyle changes. André, who had always believed that positivity and hard work could push away any problem, now faced the reality that even the strongest spirit has limits. For 3 months, he was too weak to tour or even enjoy time with his grandchildren. The world saw only the cancelled concerts, but behind closed doors, Marjorie witnessed the most difficult moments: his trembling, his vomiting, his fears of permanent disability. She protected his image publicly while guiding him privately through recovery, and when the time came to rebuild, it was Marjorie who helped André rethink his life, separating the activities that drained him from those that gave him joy. From that point on, he would focus only on music, while Marjorie handled the rest. This shift not only saved his health, but also extended his career for more than a decade. To truly understand André and Marjorie's story, one must go back to the beginning. They met in the 1970s, when Marjorie was a language teacher and André was a young musician with big dreams. Their love developed quickly, but not everyone approved. André's parents, who had strict ideas about discipline and lifestyle, were cautious about Marjorie's free-spirited nature. Still, the couple married in 1975, and together they built a life filled with both love and hard work. In those early years, money was tight. They performed in retirement homes and small halls, sometimes for only a handful of people. Marjorie wrote brochures, booked shows, and even created scripts to help André connect with audiences. At the same time, she raised their children and balanced teaching with supporting André's career. Their breakthrough finally came in 1994 with the album Strauss & Company and the viral success of the second waltz. Suddenly, André was a global star. But success also brought risks, such as the near financial disaster in 2008, when a replica of Schönbrunn Palace almost bankrupted them. Through every triumph and setback, Marjorie stayed calm, strategic, and determined. She didn't just stand beside André, she built the structures that allowed him to and even after his recovery in 2010, André faced another health scare in 2017 that forced him to confront the limits of his body once again. This time, he responded with more discipline. With Marjorie's encouragement, he hired a personal trainer, followed a strict diet, and introduced consistent exercise routines into his life. It was not about appearance, but survival. The changes were remarkable. He regained strength, stamina, and a sense of stability that allowed him to keep performing well into his 70s. What made this transformation even more powerful was that it inspired his entire orchestra. Musicians who once spent free hours resting in hotels began taking part in workouts, Zumba classes, and even marathon training. Health and wellness became part of their touring culture. For André, these changes were also emotional. He began carrying family photos in his violin case, receiving daily snapshots of his grandchildren, and wearing his wedding ring on a chain to keep it safe during performances. These small rituals grounded him, reminding him that success meant little without the people he loved. And once again, Marjorie was the quiet guide behind these changes, ensuring that André balanced his passion for music with his need for health and family. Beyond Marjorie's influence, André's story is also shaped by his family's history, particularly through Marjorie's father, Edgar Clement. Edgar was a Holocaust survivor who escaped Germany in the 1930s and survived the war thanks to the courage of a Dutch girl, Nellie, who later became his wife and André's mother-in-law. Edgar's life story deeply influenced André, but so did his love for music. When André married Marjorie, he inherited Edgar's vinyl collection of more than 300 records, which introduced him to new worlds of sound beyond the classical traditions he grew up with. From operettas to Beatles records, Edgar's collection became the foundation for the joyful, nostalgic, and diverse performances that defined André's orchestra. Edgar also taught André to feel the soul behind the music, not just play the notes. Today, whenever André performs pieces like Hava Nagila, it is a tribute to Edgar's influence and the resilience of a family shaped by survival and hope. In this way, Marjorie's role extended beyond management through her family's history. She gave André a deeper emotional foundation for his art. Even with decades of success and worldwide recognition, Marjorie has always chosen to remain private. She rarely appears on stage, avoids interviews unless absolutely necessary, and often travels under her maiden name to avoid attention. Unlike many partners of celebrities, she has no desire to share the spotlight. Instead, she has built her influence quietly, writing André's biography, organizing concerts, and managing the details that fans never see but that make the magic possible. At home in their castle in Maastricht, Marjorie enjoys peace and balance, often retreating to the indoor garden André designed as a sanctuary. For her, success was never about applause but about creating stability for the man she loved and the family they raised together. And as she now steps back from her active role while André continues to tour, her decision comes not from exhaustion, but from fulfillment. She has played her part, and she knows that the empire they built together will continue to stand on the strong foundation she created. As André celebrates his 75th birthday in 2025, his story is still being written. With his orchestra, he continues to enchant audiences across the globe, performing not just classical waltzes, but also modern pieces that bridge cultures and generations. Younger musicians like Emma have joined him on tour, signaling that the legacy will carry forward into new chapters. Yet no matter how far the music travels, at its heart remains the partnership that made it possible. The boy from Maastricht who once played in small retirement homes is now one of the best-selling classical artists of all time. But none of it would have happened without Marjorie, the woman who guided, protected, and believed in him from the very beginning. Their story is one of love, resilience, and teamwork, proving that behind every great performance is often an unseen hand, quietly shaping history. And just as André's music tells stories of beauty and hope, the life he and Marjorie built together tells a story of devotion that audiences may never fully see, but that plays in every note of the waltz. Long before André's health struggles forced him to slow down, another challenge nearly ended everything he and Marjorie had worked for. In 2008, André dreamed of creating a grand stage unlike anything audiences had ever seen. He commissioned a full-scale replica of the Schönbrunn Palace in Vienna, complete with golden details and majestic design. The vision was breathtaking, but the costs were overwhelming. Millions were spent on construction, transport, and logistics. At first, the idea seemed brilliant after all. André's concerts were already drawing tens of thousands, and this new spectacle promised to elevate them to legendary status. But then, disaster struck. The global financial crisis hit, ticket sales dropped, and expenses piled up faster than revenue. Debt mounted at a frightening pace. At one point, the family feared they might lose everything, including the castle in Maastricht that had been their dream home. For many, such a crisis would have spelled the end. But once again, it was Marjorie who steadied the ship. She worked tirelessly behind the scenes, negotiating, organizing, and reassuring André when he feared the worst. Friends recall her calmness during that storm, never panicking, never giving up. Slowly, they recovered. Tours resumed, albums sold, and audiences returned. The near collapse became a painful memory, but also a reminder of how fragile success can be, even at the height of fame. And through it all, Marjorie proved not only her loyalty, but also her strength as the quiet strategist who knew how to pull them back from the brink. Paragraph 10. A legacy beyond the stage today. When audiences fill arenas to hear André and his orchestra, they are not just enjoying music, they are stepping into a legacy carefully shaped by decades of vision, sacrifice, and resilience. The orchestra itself has become a family, with members often touring together for years, forming lifelong bonds. Many credit André and Marjorie with creating an environment that is more than just a workplace. It is a community of artists who care for one another. This sense of belonging was particularly evident